Hello and welcome. This is your midweek edition of Race to Power. I'm Ananya Datta and I'm here to talk about politics. Here's what's coming up in the next 30 minutes. The results seem to be clear even before general elections in the United Kingdom. We are not saying this. Rishi Sunak's cabinet minister has conceded defeat a day before Britons are set to vote. We tell you how the Labour is reacting to it. And in France, the mission has shifted from wooing the voters to doing everything to stop the far right out. Over 200 candidates have stepped down just to position the best bet against Marine Le Pen's party. Now, United Kingdom is going to polls in less than 12 hours from now, but Tories seem to have already conceded defeat. One cabinet minister and one senior leader are talking about forming the opposition already. We have two quotes with us, one from the Work and Pension Secretary, and he says tomorrow is likely to see the largest Labour landslide majority, the largest that this country has ever seen, much bigger than 1997. What matters now is what kind of opposition we have. Then comes former Home Secretary Suella Braverman. She says one needs to read the writing on the wall. It's over and we need to prepare for the reality and frustration of the opposition. Now, the opinion polls suggest a win for the Labour, but Tory leaders are going beyond that. It has been just 6 weeks since the Prime Minister called for early elections and the Conservatives did not expect to end the campaigning on predicting a win for its rival faction. Also, a little too late or deliberate, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson joined the campaign trail. He did not share the stage with Rishi Sunak. Remember, these two have had very public disagreements in the past, especially in the last 2 years. But desperation ahead of elections has brought them together to show a united front of the Tories.
If you're slightly surprised to see me, if you're slightly surprised, I want to be absolutely clear that I was glad when Rishi asked me to help. Of course I couldn't say no. And I'm here for one reason and one reason only, which is the same reason as all of you, all of us are here. We're here because we love our country. And whatever our differences, they are utterly trivial by comparison with the disaster we may face if these so-called opinion polls are right.
Now, none of this seems to be touching the Labour Party. They seemed confident as leader Keir Starmer began his final day of campaigning. Polls indicate a desire for change after 14 years of Tory government.
This is an incredible opportunity for change across the whole of the United Kingdom and a double opportunity to deliver here in Wales for every single person and household. Let's go out, let's do it with that smile, that positivity, our argument before the country, hoping for that victory tomorrow. Thank you all so much.
Let's now look at some key issues at stake in the UK general elections that's slated for Thursday, that's 4th of July. The main opposition Labour leader is widely predicted to win, remember, and he has been determined not to take any risks, making for a lackluster election campaign. You see, for the past 2 years, polling has suggested that Labour is 20 points ahead of the Conservatives. And also no amount of campaigning has managed to shift the dial, and that's a very key component in this election year. But if that indicates a desire for change after 14 years of Tory government, as much of the voters have been saying, there does not appear to be much enthusiasm for Labour's plans. Now, Labour has repeatedly warned that it does not have a magic wand. And we are quoting that. Magic wand is what Keir Starmer had said to change the country overnight. The apathy extends to both leaders, with 72% having an unfavourable opinion of Tory leader Rishi Sunak and 51% of Labour's Keir Starmer. And this is according to the YouGov poll just this month.
We've got a deterrent, and when the
Let's now move across to France, where we also have been tracking this very, very crucial election. In a tactical move, scores of candidates have withdrawn from the upcoming second round of France's parliamentary elections. Over 200 third-placed contestants, mainly from the left and the centre, have stepped aside to prevent the far-right National Rally, that's also known as RN, from gaining seats. And the action means that instead of an initially anticipated 300 three-way contests, there will be just 108 on Sunday. The move is dubbed the Republican Front. Its objective is to consolidate the anti-RN vote and prevent Marine Le Pen's party from securing an absolute majority in the National Assembly. It is a tactic that has been in play before. Most notably in 2002, voters rallied behind Chirac to defeat Marine Le Pen's father, in a presidential contest. Only 76 lawmakers, mostly from the far right and left, were elected outright in the first round of voting, and the fate of the remaining 501 seats will be determined in the runoff. French publications said 221 candidates withdrew on Tuesday, and they include 130 from the left and 82 from Macron's centrist alliance. The strategic move means that of the 501 seats, 108 will have three-way races, two will see a four-way contest, and the rest two-way races. Both President Emmanuel Macron and French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal have already stated the importance of blocking RN from power. Now, Attal claimed the National Rally will be terrible for the country and the French, but the outcome from such tactical shift is uncertain, given that Marine Le Pen has softened her party's image over the years, in fact. It is not known if voters will be guided by political leaders in the current climate. The first round of voting saw the RN emerge frontrunner with nearly 33% of the votes. The NPF secured 28%, while Macron's centrist bloc took just over 20%. Pollsters initially estimated the RN could win between 250 to 300 seats in the 577-seat National Assembly, but the tactical withdrawal could significantly alter this projection. Marine Le Pen has acknowledged the challenges ahead, and she has said that her party cannot agree to form a government if it cannot act that she asserted will be the worst of betrayals of the voters. However, she hinted at the possibility of forming alliances. Le Pen estimates if they have 270 lawmakers and need 19 more, they will ask others to participate in a new majority. But if no party secures a clear majority, France could face a period of political uncertainty. The Prime Minister has suggested that mainstream right, left and centre parties could form ad hoc alliances to pass legislation. And already in the foretaste of potential tensions, Le Pen is accusing Macron of preparing key public sector appointments to hinder RN's ability to implement its policies. All right, to take this further and to give us some perspective, we are being joined by political analyst Elijah Magnier from Paris. Mr. Magnier, thank you so much for joining us here on WION again. Thanks for joining us from Paris. And it seems like French politics is at crossroads as we speak, and the numbers we are getting from Paris speaks exactly that. There are 577 total seats. About 76 lawmakers have been elected in the first round, and there are remaining 501 seats to go to polls in the second round of elections. What becomes important here is that 221 candidates have already withdrawn. I want to ask you, how effective do you think this strategy by the left and the centre is going to work this Sunday?
Thank you for having me. Well, it works because candidates who have managed to get more than 12.5% of the total voters have the right to run the elections or to withdraw in favor of others who have better chances. And this is something that is normally done in the French elections when there are so many candidates, and then they weigh which one has the most vote and is most popular and most likely to go through. And then all the others minor votes or candidates with a minor votes, then they withdraw to make sure that all the votes that go into one party are not scattered. So this is a good strategy that normally parties adopt. Now, the problem is we are facing today in France is the fact that the Le Pen and the right wing, are they going to abide by what they have said? They're not going to accept the nomination of a prime minister if they don't have 50+1 of the Assemblée Nationale, or they're going to accept it and then ask for their share in the ruling party or in the formation of the government. So this is still the question that is not very clear, and I think it will be postponed until the next Monday.
All right, Mr. Magnier, taking that very last point that you made a little further, I know last time you said in case it happens that the far right comes to power, it won't be the first time that the president and the prime minister are from different parties, from different ideologies. They have worked out in the past, and this time as well they will. But I want to ask you, what kind of France do you envision under Macron and Bardella? I know Bardella has said that he will only become the prime minister if they have an absolute majority, but just to make a scenario and give the people of Paris a vision into the future?
So the president, Emmanuel Macron, will have the foreign policy and the defense. And everything domestic will be in the hand of the prime minister. Now, if he has to cohabitate with Bardella, he is inexperienced, he's 28 years old, he hasn't finished his university and school, and he doesn't have really a charisma because we've seen him in different places during the debate. Nevertheless, what the far right is advocating for is to reduce the retirement age to 60, which is extremely popular among all the French, not only the far right. He's talking about the immigration that again raises the appetite of many French people. So all these tools and to increase the salary and increase the wages, all that find a very fertile ground for many French people, regardless their affiliation with any other party. And this is where we will see the end of the Macron era, because as he's not dealing with domestic issues, then he cannot build and capitalize on the future, because any French president cannot be elected more than twice, but he can run the presidential elections after a new president is elected.
Right.
But by doing so, he will lose a lot of popularity.
All right, Mr. Magnier, thank you so much for getting us your insights from Paris.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Is President Joe Biden a winnable candidate for the Democrats in the 2024 presidential elections? That is the question American voters are asking after his performance in last week's presidential debate with Republican rival Donald Trump. Latest surveys show how support for Biden is on the decline, raising alarm bells within his party, with one of his party's lawmakers demanding that he steps aside. According to the Ipsos Reuters poll, 1 in 3 Democrats think Biden should end his re-election bid. It also found that no prominent elected Democrat would have fared any better than Biden against Trump. The poll, which was conducted online, surveyed about 1,000 US adults nationwide. Talking about numbers, according to the poll, both Biden and Trump maintained the support of 40% of registered voters, indicating that Biden has not lost any ground since the CNN debate. As for the other Democrats, only Michelle Obama, the former First Lady of the United States, outperformed Joe Biden. Michelle Obama led Trump 50% to 39% in a hypothetical matchup. This despite her maintaining that she does not intend to run for president. According to the Ipsos Reuters poll, Vice President Kamala Harris trailed Donald Trump by 1 percentage point, and that is 42% to 43%. While California Governor Gavin Newsom, he performed marginally worse, trailing Trump 39% to 42% in the survey conducted. Now let's take a look at another poll conducted by CNN. As US President Joe Biden wages a desperate bid to save his re-election, 3/4 of voters say the Democrats are better off without him. According to the CNN poll, 49% respondents favored Trump, while 43% favored Biden, a gap of 6 points. Meanwhile, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California says that it would be fair for voters to ask if President Biden has a condition or if last week's debate performance was just, quote-unquote, an episode. Meanwhile, a House Democratic lawmaker, Lloyd Doggett of Texas, said in a statement that Biden should make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw. Now, Iran is holding a runoff presidential election on Friday, and the contest pits a little-known reformist against a hard-line former nuclear negotiator. But the big worry for both candidates is the poll turnout that has been abysmally low so far. The first round of Saturday showed the lowest ever election turnout in the Islamic Republic's history. Over 60% of voters did not cast their ballot in a race that saw reformist cardiac surgeon Masoud Pezeshkian and Saeed Jalili left to face a runoff that is slated on July 5th. Analysts are reading the first round poll itself as a show of protest, with an overwhelming number of people rejecting what's to offer both the candidates and the system. Of the 24.5 million votes cast in Friday's election, Pezeshkian got 10.4 million, while Jalili received 9.4 million. Iranian law requires that a winner gets over 50% of all votes cast, since no one did. The top two candidates advanced to a runoff. There's been only one other runoff presidential elections in Iran's history. That is in 2005, when hardliner Mahmoud Ahmadinejad bested former President Akbar Rafsanjani, and has been the case since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Women and those calling for radical change did not run in the election. The vote itself has no oversight over internationally recognized monitors, and the overall turnout was 39.9%. According to the results, the 2021 presidential election that elected Ibrahim Raisi saw a 48.8% turnout, while the March parliamentary election saw a 40.6% turnout. There's criticism that Pezeshkian represents just another government-approved candidate. Jalili would have won outright, and the three hardliners not split last Friday's vote. Now, Jalili is known as the living martyr who lost a leg in the 1980s Iran-Iraq war. Now, the question remains if Pezeshkian will be able to draw voters into his campaign in order to inch ahead of Jalili this Friday. Now, Egypt is facing multiple issues internationally as well as domestically. At a time like this, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is hoping that a reshuffled budget will bring some change for geopolitics as well as economy.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has sworn in a reshuffled cabinet. The country welcomed its new finance and foreign ministers at a time when tensions are rife. The government is facing challenges including the Gaza war on its border, economic woes and persistent power cuts. The previous cabinet resigned a month ago, and Sisi reappointed Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli. He has urged his new cabinet to focus on lowering inflation and regulating markets as well as boosting investment. The new finance minister, Ahmed Kuchuk, comes with a lot of experience under his belt. Having handled the post of deputy finance minister, he faces perhaps the biggest challenge in managing a stumbling economy and a debt burden that has soared in recent years. Egypt's sovereign dollar bonds rallied on Wednesday, with the longer-dated maturities gaining the most. The 2047 maturity rose by 1.96 cents to trade at 75.16 cents on the dollar by 11:24 GMT. At the Foreign Ministry, Egypt's ambassador to the European Union, Badr Abdelati, is expected to continue steering Egypt's diplomatic efforts to contain the impact of the war in Gaza. Ministers in Egypt have limited decision-making authority, with real power residing with the presidency, military and security services. Earlier this year, the country signed a record investment agreement with the United Arab Emirates and international funding deals, including an expanded loan program with the IMF. On Tuesday, another investment deal was announced for a high-end development on the Mediterranean coast. What this reshuffled cabinet brings for the country and its people remains to be seen.
The idea is how to set our priorities, what we will spend on, and whether we will resort again to loans. And if we will get more loans, which projects and which sources of spending will these fund? These are the issues that if changed, it will be more important than change personalities in and of itself.
Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Alright, news just coming in from India. Champai Soren, the Chief Minister of Jharkhand State, tenders his resignation to the governor, paving the way for former Chief Minister Hemant Soren to once again head the government. Hemant Soren is returning to the post after he was granted bail in a money laundering case just last week. Hemant Soren submitted a request to the governor to form the government, and this was after a party meeting on Wednesday, where leaders and MLAs of his alliance met at Chief Minister Champai Soren's residence. Also present at the meeting was Hemant Soren's wife, Kalpana Soren, who has been leading the party's campaign for the release of her husband from jail. The meeting unanimously decided to elect Hemant Soren as the legislature party leader. Hemant Soren will be returning as Chief Minister of Jharkhand for the third time after a consensus among legislators of the party-led alliance in the state. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injured have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
The first contingent of Kenyan police officers are in the crisis-hit Caribbean nation of Haiti, amid opposition from their countrymen who have tagged them as being brutal. Can they end Haiti's gang crisis? West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS sounds the